So let's get started, and maybe let's get started with a small introduction of who we are, who the speakers here are. This is our friendly dinosaurs. So let's begin with myself. My name is David. I work for Four Pees. I'm the CTO here. And let me introduce Four Pees a little bit to you as well. Summarized in one slide, we implement automation. In fact, Four Pees we call ourselves a value-added distributor and integrator, and that means that we focus on helping people automate software, typically in pre-press and production workflows, typically. So, small introduction. We are a company based in Ghent. We've been around for a while, since 2007. And then we actually do, as I said, two things: distribute software on the one hand, on the other hand, also actively integrate software, so help with implementing the software. For that, we have a team of in-house experts that we work with, ranging from customer support over marketing to sales support to anything that you need to actually implement software projects. And we also lean heavily on a network of worldwide partners. On the one hand, people who locally work with customers, on the other hand, vendors of the solutions that we typically use to automate workflows. We're a small company, but at the moment, I believe officially we're 14 people. So we have been growing relatively quickly over the last 2-3 years as well. What do we do? Well, what is important in my mind, at least, is that we operate globally. Of course, we are based out of Belgium, but we work with customers all over the world, including North America and Asia, for example. We try to optimize, automate, increase productivity. You can call it whatever you want, but in summary, we try to have processes, or to make processes go more smoothly. And the last one is that we endure where others quit. And these are a few of the companies where we have done that. I'm not going to point out individual ones here, but I'm sure some of these logos will be familiar. What is important is that it shows that we play in lots of different markets, from a very traditional commercial print market, but more and more diversified in all the different market segments that print has moved into as well. That is it for Four Pees. I'm going to pass it on to Davy, who is still muted, yes, and who is going to introduce himself and Dataline.
Good afternoon, everybody. So I'm Davy, solution architect at Dataline for the software MultiPress. I'm actually going to let Driessche, our CEO, introduce the company in a minute. I'm already active in the graphical industry for more than 22 years, always been connected also to large format printing. Was in production in the beginning of my career, but afterwards I started with companies like NUR, that actually became HP, Gandhi Innovation, that then became Agfa in the end. My previous employer was Fujifilm, where I was responsible for the automation workflow XMF for digital printing, and joined Dataline 5 years ago as a project manager for Europe, and already implemented a lot of successful projects throughout Europe. But I'm just going to give the word to our CEO, Dirk, for a couple of introduction, for a small introduction about our company and our software.
The subway of a large city connects places along different metro lines, with connections that allow you to switch smoothly from one track to the other. In the same way, every print media company has many processes to manage the production of an order. For example, calculation, planning, finance, shipping, reporting. For each of these processes, you could use a different software. But how do all these packages connect to each other? Manually or automatically? Does this always run smoothly and on time? Only MultiPress connects all your processes optimally, time and cost efficient, just like a subway network. For each process, MultiPress guides your company along the shortest track. This makes MultiPress the most unique solution. It is the only way for your company to realize more profit, faster turnaround times, higher margins, fewer errors, and less loss of time. With MultiPress, you choose the perfect route to efficiency.
Hello and welcome to the Dataline web session. My name is Dirk de Roo and I am the CEO of Dataline Solutions, a Belgian software company dedicated to MIS ERP software for the print and sign industry since more than 23 years. In 1997, I started Dataline from my attic room after a career as Apple evangelist. I saw the challenges the printing industry was facing, in particular the transition from a craft to a process-driven industry. In the beginning, MultiPress was a CRM and calculation software, but since many years, the print industry and print MIS software has evolved into a complete backbone where administration, calculation, estimation, planning, finance, logistics, along with production tracking and management are integrated into one powerful, streamlined management system. For every production technique, Dataline developed the most unique and most advanced calculation software model. Maximum automation is achieved, but at no time is control taken away from the user. Today, more than 1,000 companies in the print and sign industry use MultiPress on a daily basis, representing 10,000 users in 25 countries in Europe. Our software is available in 11 languages, and I'm proud to mention that we have received for the second year in a row the European Digital Press Award in the category Best European MIS ERP Software. Our company Dataline has 60 employees in 5 locations in Belgium, the Netherlands, France and Germany. And we are represented in 25 countries in Europe through a network of experienced channel partners. Just like the MultiPress customers you just have seen, it is clear that automation of your administration and production workflows is no longer optional. The only question is when. With MultiPress, Dataline has built a lot of automation experience since 20 years. And based on that experience, to help you in that exercise, we developed an audit software that makes a deep analysis of all processes within the printing company. And through this software, our business consultants give you a razor-sharp calculation that brings the best automation opportunities to surface, including how much you will save. The necessity to streamline operations and automate processes is the obvious strategy for every printing company that wants to remain successful also in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dirk. So Dirk already explained, we are an ERP system, MIS system for the graphical industry, and we only focus on that industry. We do not design any software for any other industry. MultiPress is also a modular software, so that means we have the basic functionalities of the software, that is a CRM, calculation, offer, job, delivery note, and invoice, and that is the backbone of the system. Modular system in that way that we also can add additional functionality. We have inbuilt pre-flighting. We use the same engine that Four Pees also represents. Colors is embedded in our software. We also handle JDF workflow, automation. We handle also expedition, purchase, stock management, planning, time registration. All of those environments can be added to that base system when you need it. So that means that the system can grow with your company. We also connect to a lot of third-party systems to enrich our software. And third-party systems like we see today, for example, they talk about e-business or an e-commerce platform where we can actually get the orders from that platform and process it further into your production. What we're also going to see today is that we have a very powerful calculation engine that will calculate the cost of production of a specific product. And that calculation engine can also be connected to your e-commerce platform. In this case, we can connect it also with Pressero. But furthermore, we can automate the process a little bit more. We can actually automate the pre-press to actually optimize the files, to send it to specific workflows, to do some ganging or some shape nesting, but also in the end to connect to your accounting system and also to some expedition platforms. That's actually part of our partner strategy. Every partner that we start an integration with, it's actually a certified partnership. That means that the amount of effort that we put into this connection comes from both sides. And only from this partnership, we actually can create a very powerful interactions with both softwares. So let's actually dive in. I think, David, you're going to introduce Pressero a little bit first.
Indeed. So let me switch here to my screen. There we go. So the goal of today, as Davy has already mentioned, is that we don't want to look at the details of either MultiPress or Pressero. What we want to focus on is how these two systems can be linked together. And after this introduction of MultiPress, what you see on your screen is the Pressero backend with an overview of orders in this case. And I just want to point out a few things that later Davy will come back on when he shows the integration between the two systems. First thing I want to show is that in a Pressero setup, you have general preferences that affect all the websites that are hosted by Pressero. And the most important point for this conversation is going to be the fact that you can define pricing engines. If you sell something online, obviously you want to offer certain options for the products that you sell, and you also want a price to be calculated for these options. And pricing engines allow you to do that. Pressero is unique in the sense that it allows you to use very basic pricing engines, very simple to set up. But it also, on the other end of the spectrum, allows you to create a completely external pricing engine. And that might be used to implement a completely custom pricing strategy based on all kinds of complex calculations, or it could be used to connect to a third-party system such as MultiPress. Where are these used? Well, if I go to a website that is set up in Pressero and I look at the properties of that website, then I have a catalog with products there. And if you look at a product, you can see in the properties the capabilities that you have to include pricing engines. I could set it up in an advanced way where different groups of people have a different price when they come to the website, or I can just use one pricing engine that will serve all customers that come to the website. How does this look on the website itself? Well, if I switch to this site and we look at the products tab here at the top, I have the same list of product categories and then products that I had in the backend a few moments ago. And for a product, I now get to see the options that there are and the price that is calculated by Pressero. And if I change this, the price that you see here actually switches, of course, together with the options or with the quantity that is ordered. These options and the price that is calculated, and in the background also the weight that is calculated, which is important for shipping. Where do these come from? And if I already have all this information in my MIS system, isn't there a way to connect these two systems together so that I don't have to set things up manually every time something changes, for example, in the material price that I have, or options for a product that I define? Let me pass it back to Davy, who is going to show you exactly how you can connect these two systems and how we can set it up in such a way that indeed you don't have to modify anything in the Pressero backend. The prices will come automatically from the MIS system. Davy?
First of all, I don't want to dig into the setup of the Pressero directly. I just want to show you how we actually build up our products in MultiPress itself and how are they actually calculated in MultiPress. So first of all, MultiPress has different ways of doing a calculation. We can do a calculation from scratch. So that means, for example, that the user will define which kind of elements that they need pre-press wise, printing wise, substrate, finishing, and all those kind of things to produce a product. But more and more, this kind of knowledge is very technical. So we don't, and less people have that technical knowledge to be able to build a price. Of course, we have also the possibility to save those calculated products as a standard, but a standard doesn't have a lot of variables. It is actually a product as it is. Like, for example, a roll-up banner or a beach rack or a POS display. Other products, and we're talking about booklets, brochures, we're talking about banners, stickers, they have a lot of variable options. Not only the size is a variable, but also, for example, which kind of substrate, which kind of print mode, which kind of finishing are allowed on this product. So that's why we have a configurator built into MultiPress where you can set up the possible combinations of a specific product and use that in your calculation or during your quotation. So how is this built up? First of all, I'm going to show you how to build up a product in MultiPress, but it also will become clear that this product will be available in the Pressero website as well afterwards. So if we actually go into our product configurator, the only thing I'll need to do is actually to define what is allowed or what is available for this specific product. And let's actually do that for some vinyl stickers, for example. So if we take those vinyl stickers are only printed single-sided. We cannot print this double-sided. So the amount of pages that we allow for this kind of product is also 1. And we also have the possibility to connect this to a product type. These product types are very interesting if you, for example, want to have your turnover on a specific product, if you want to actually filter this accounting-wise, I can't fit self-adhesive, accounting-wise. We also have the possibility to build up a checklist. A little bit information about the checklist. Checklist is the way that you actually communicate the product to your customer. We always have 2 different levels of information. We have the commercial information, and that means how we're going to communicate the product to the customer, and we have the technical information. The technical information is used to actually communicate the product then to production, how it needs to be produced, which kind of machine and which kind of substrate do we need from which supplier. So all of that information is separated. So that means that we can communicate in the product in a commercial way and in a technical way at the same time. The checklist builds up the commercial description of the product. So that means I don't have to start typing that commercial information. It will build it up automatically. The material that is available for this product could be a various range of material. Can, in this case, in stickers, for example, it could be permanent, removable, it could be monomer, polymer, it could be a quite different list of material. In this case, I actually just select which material will be available for this kind of product. So let's actually take a permanent self-adhesive, and let's also take a removable one. So let's take these two, for example. So that means that these substrates are now available for this product. Finishing wise, I have different kind of finishing. I can say, for example, I need some cutting. So let's say in this case, for example, that this is just a straight cut. And of course, the way that you set up or describe these options, you're completely free to define this. But I'm actually now going to define 3 types of finishing. That's going to be a straight cut, a complex cut, and a very complex cut. So that means in my large format finishing manipulations, I'm going to do this on a Zund in this case, and that is going to be a simple straight cut. I can just copy this finishing and then actually say, let's also have a complex cut. And what is the difference between a complex and a straight cut? The complex one takes a little bit more time. More time means a little bit more expensive. So calculation wise, if the customer will select a complex or a very complex or a very normal straight cut, this is going to have a big influence on the price as well. And that's something that we're going to see in a minute when we actually start using this kind of product. Now I have already the cutting. I'm just going to do one more. Let's actually do also some lamination. And in this case, I'm going to offer the customer no lamination, of course. Maybe he doesn't want any lamination, no lamination. And you can also see that I'm used to type on a QWERTY, not an AZERTY. So in this case, I have my seal laminator, and I'm going to use some graphite. Sorry, a little bit too fast. I said no lamination. Let's actually then copy this one and say, in this case, it's glass lamination. Voila. And in large format, I use my laminating, and I will use my Graphite Glossy. And then last but not least, I will select the matte one as well, just to make it complete. And finishing wise, I'm going to use Graphite Matte. Okay, my finishing is there. Of course, I need to print it as well. This is going to be printed in large format, so I will select my large format technology. Of course, with MultiPress, we can also support offset printing, web fed, screen printing, digital, small format, large format. We can actually handle all of these technologies. But in this case, I'm going to do this in large format printing, and I'm going to use my latex machine. And prepress wise, I'm going to add also the cost for the PDF action to check the file. This is a cost that we always forget, but if we invest in automation, like for example with the JDF connection, like the Colors engine, like for example also with Focus Switch or something like that, of course, that investment also has to be won back during production. Now my product has been set up. That means I already can start using it. I can start using this in MultiPress directly. So if I want to start creating a new offer for home base, for example, there he is. And this is for stickers COVID. I have the possibility to do this calculation directly in MultiPress. And to say here in this case, for example, it's a sticker from 200 by 250. And I will use my vinyl sticker product that I just created. Now I have now the possibility to select a permanent or a removable. I can select also the quality. I can select here which kind of cutting that I want to do. So I'm going to say it's a complex cut, and it's going to be with a glass lamination. These selection will be now translated automatically into production resources. So that the commercial information will be translated. First of all, it will fill up the checklist, but it will allocate the pre-press task that it needs to do. It will allocate which kind of machine that it needs to be printed on. It will also actually allocate the type of finishing and will calculate the selling price. But of course, I also have the cost price. I know exactly how much this product costs. I know exactly what is the margin that I'm going to make on this product. Now, how does this work on Pressero? That's also why you came here today. First of all, if I actually go into my Pressero backend, of course, like David already explained, you already can define and create your categories in Pressero. So that means if you're building up a web shop, you have all of these products that can be created directly in Pressero. The intention is that the product can be created based on the information available in MultiPress. I already defined the product in MultiPress. I already defined the options that are possible. So the only thing I'll need to do is actually go into my management environment and connect my Pressero webshop with all the products that are available in my MultiPress. I'm just going to I need to log in again because I was on this web page a little bit too long.
So it's important from a management point of view. What you're looking at is the external services that are offered by Aleyant for Pressero. There needs to be an external service installed for the connection with MultiPress, and then you get access to this kind of interface where you can see the products coming from MultiPress, correct?
Indeed, thanks, David. Now, indeed, these are external services developed by Pressero, and these also connect to your MultiPress database through an API through the API from MultiPress. So what you see here, for example, is all of your web shops that you have available and the specific workflows that you've created on your Pressero backend. So now I actually want to add those vinyl stickers that I created in MultiPress into my Pressero webshop. So I'm also going to obligate my user that they have to upload a file. I'm going to do this on my Imprim International webshop, and I'm going to put this in the category labels and stickers. I'm also going to make this product available for everybody. David, maybe you have a small explanation about these groups in Pressero?
Yeah, you can create in the actually on the site level, even you can create different types of users. And the best example always is there are some users that you know, clients that you know, and that you have a special deal with. You put them together in one group so that later, for example, they can pay by invoice, while everyone you don't know who comes to the site or the clients you don't like as much, they have to pay by credit card or using a direct transfer or something like that, where you have the money immediately. That is one of the uses for groups, but you can also use them to make certain parts of the products invisible for certain users and a number of other options within Pressero.
Okay, thank you, David. So I'm going to make this available for everybody in the end. Of course, I also connect this to a relation in MultiPress. And why is this? This is the difference between B2c and B2b. If you have, Pressero has the possibility to handle both platforms, David. Yes. It can be a B2b shop, it can be a B2c shop. Huh? So what we do in B2C, because I'm using the example B2C, I'm connecting this environment with a generic account. What we don't want in MultiPress is to contaminate our CRM database. We don't want those individual customers contaminating our database. So everything is allocated to one central account that will also be used to generate the invoice to connect to our accounting system in the end. Of course, if we're talking about a B2B, this can be connected to a specific account in your MultiPress CRM. We also connect this to a specific standard for shipping, that all the costs can actually be allocated to one specific product as well. Now, what do we need to do to add this product now to our web shop? So the only thing I'll need to do is select the vinyl stickers that I created, tap on the button, voila, product has been created. What does this mean? This means that the product has been created and it's already available on your web shop. Now the category stickers does not exist yet, but as soon as I added from MultiPress a product in that category and I refresh my website, you will see suddenly I have here labels and stickers. If I go into labels and stickers, I have here the vinyl sticker that has been created from MultiPress. Of course, if I want to change the look and feel, and David knows more about this than I do, I actually just go into the backend. And David, maybe you can actually give a small explanation what I'm doing here.
If you click on any of the products, you have all of the, call it marketing information for those products. So you could modify the images that are used to represent it. You can modify the description. Pressero allows you to add SEO important information for those products. All of that you can still set up. Yeah? And that is for the whole integration. What you've seen is that you do still need to create the categories in Pressero. So you will set up the structure of your website as you want it. You need to set up the site itself as well and select the theme and all of those things that you normally do in Pressero. It is when you get to the point where normally you would create products from scratch in Pressero that here you're just going to link them to MultiPress products. That connection creates the product in Pressero as well, and then you modify it to look good in the Pressero website. But as you can see, a lot of stuff then starts coming in from MultiPress, such as the options.
Yeah, so these are the same options that we created in MultiPress. It's also the same options that are available in MultiPress itself. So if I actually redo the calculation that we've done in MultiPress, so I actually define the quantity, I define a size, let's say also 250 by 250. This is going to be single-sided. I defined this product in the system as a single-sided product, so that I only can select single-sided. The material I can select is the same material I defined in MultiPress, printing qualities as well. The finishing, I'm going to use a glass lamination. I'm also going to use a complex cut. The most important thing, and you don't see it now because I've hidden it a bit, this price is calculated on the fly. If I change the quantity, if I change the size, if I change the substrate, every time I change something, Pressero connects to the calculation engine of MultiPress. And this has a huge advantage and will actually allow you less administrative time on setting up your web shop because everything is already defined in your MultiPress. That means if I want to change an option, if I want to add an option, if I actually, for example, want to, if the substrate itself, if, for example, the substrate, and we saw this lately with acrylic, the purchase price of acrylic just went up astronomically the last year. If I change the purchase price of acrylic in MultiPress, that means that automatically all the products that are connected to that substrate will be updated on the fly. And that has a huge advantage. Okay. Now, of course, once this has been calculated, I actually then can say I'm going to upload the file. I have here a COVID-free sticker. Let's use that. I'm already logged in with my own username and password into this web shop. So I can actually just go and add this to the cart. And this order is ready to be processed. Now, a little small thing, we do not only calculate the price of the product, we also calculate the weight of the product in MultiPress. And that weight is also shared with Pressero. And Pressero has a very powerful shipping calculation engine. Maybe, David, you can talk a little bit about this.
Yeah, so the reason that the weight is calculated is because in those general preferences for Pressero, where I showed this list of pricing engines, you also have lists with integrated payment providers, but also with shipment providers. And of course, in a lot of cases, if you use something like an integration for DHL, for example, then the weight is going to play a role in what the eventual price is going to be for the shipping. This weight that is calculated by MultiPress is returned to Pressero. Pressero will use it in the shipping engine, and the shipping engine will calculate what the price for the shipping is going to be, and that becomes the final price for that order.
Okay, thank you, David. So now, for example, everything is ready to be ordered. Let's actually just proceed to checkout. I have a free account, so that means I don't have to put in my credit cards. If I would have done this, that means I would actually have to ask a raise to my boss, but I don't have to pay every time I want to test something. So I'm just going to buy this. Again, payment methods all depends. Like David already explained, Pressero has a connection to payment providers, but also it could be B2b, and the B2b is in the end, it's an invoice because it's going to be a wire transfer.
Davy, you can set up test accounts on many of these payment providers, so you don't need a raise.
I don't have to pull out my credit card then?
No. Well, you still need to pull out your credit card, but it wouldn't be charged.
Ah, okay, thank you. I didn't do that yet. I didn't want to take the risk. So now this has been ordered. So what happens next? Of course, it has been ordered. It has to be pushed to MultiPress. Now, this can be set up automatically with specific workflows that you can define in Pressero. David? Do you want to talk about the workflows a little bit?
Normally in Pressero, you have two options actually. Once something is ordered, you could not do anything, and in that case, you end up with a list of orders, and someone would have to go into the Pressero backend, view the orders, download the files that are necessary, and so on. The second thing that you can do is you can set up a small application on one of your servers that will connect to Pressero, and that will automatically download the PDF documents that belong to an order, and also a version of the XML metadata that comes in with that order. And Pressero even supports different XML formats. So in some cases, you can make a straight connection with the XML that comes out of Pressero and whatever system you want to send it to. If that is not the case, what you often see is some middleware like Switch in between that would take in the PDF and the XML, and that would then send it to the backend system. The workflow that you see here is kind of a definition of the steps that a product goes through that can also be adjusted to fit the workflow that you want to use. And this is also linked to providing status information to the orders that are in the Pressero system.
And it can also be linked to status mails, I think, status emails.
Correct.
To the customer. Yeah. So what I could have done, because otherwise it will not be fun to show you guys. Of course, I actually can say every time an order comes into from the Imprim International website that the order will be forwarded to MultiPress directly. That is possible. You don't have to do this step. It can be automated. The only thing I'll need to do, and just saw that it is in French, but in English it means send it to MultiPress. I'm only going to change the status of this order, and now all the information has been sent to MultiPress. Again, this is an advanced beta. We're just finalizing and fine-tuning a couple of things. Not all the information is there yet, but this is something that we're finalizing in the last coming weeks. Now, first of all, if you work in MultiPress and you work in MultiPress on a daily basis, you have a possibility to enable pop-up messages. Not every user will get this, of course. You can define which user that's going to get this. But in this case, you're going to be informed that a new order has been placed on the Pressero website. In this case, the 250 vinyl stickers. So if I actually go into my job section, I will see here that there's a new order from Pressero. It's under Imprint International. I have here my vinyl stickers. I have here also the shipping costs in this case. Delivery addresses wise, I already have the delivery address also defined. This is also coming from Pressero. Now, we can go a step further as well. MultiPress has the possibility to connect to a lot of shipping platforms as well. We can connect to SendCloud, Transmart, Uniform. I'm forgetting one, but I can't remember one, but we can connect to a lot of shipping platforms that are also able to connect to specific carriers like DHL, bpost, PostNL, Geodis, whatever kind of carrier that you actually want. We obtain from that platform the shipping label. We also obtain from this platform the tracking number. That tracking number will also be shared with the Pressero website. So that means we can inform also Pressero about the shipment of this product. Okay.
This may sound a bit weird now because I talked about shipping in Pressero and now you talk about shipping in MultiPress. In fact, what it means is that you have both options. You could use shipping engines in Pressero, or you could, if everything else goes to MultiPress and there you have a connection to SendCloud, for example, you could choose to have the orders move into MultiPress and then do all the shipping from MultiPress.
Yeah, the one that I forgot, and I have colleagues in this session as well, the one I forgot is Boombal. But Boombal is a platform where you're actually able to organize your own shipments with your own trucks and your own vans. That's a very interesting platform as well. Now, next to the shipping, of course, we also have the file. We saw that the file has been uploaded to Pressero. Where is this file? We do not have to connect to an FTP site or a Google Drive or Dropbox or whatever. MultiPress connects to your file server. So that means every new job that we launch in the system, already a folder in a specific structure is created on your file server. That also means that Pressero already uploaded that file to your file server. Now, this file can now be checked with the internal Colors engine in MultiPress. It can be prepared for production. It can be forwarded to your production using JDF or hot folders. So we can actually automate the process even further as well. Okay. Last but not least, we also have what kind of materials do we need? So here is a complete bill of materials, what we need to produce the job, because we calculate the product technically. This can be connected to your stock management so that we know that we actually make a reservation of that substrate and the amount that we need for production. If we don't have any stock of that product, we're actually going to inform the purchase department that an order needs to be placed for this kind of product. Same thing, same thing, planning-wise, everything has also been already defined, what we need production planning-wise, what we need resources-wise. Automatically based on the shipping date, we calculated a retroactive planning. So if we actually already do the shipping on the 12th of May, we need to start checking the file the 10th, the production will be the 11th, and the finishing the 12th. All that information can be pushed into a planning. All that information is also available for production, that they know exactly what needs to be done when. Okay. Now, last but not least, we are also going to be possible to trigger some automation on the invoice, because accounting is also a specific topic when connecting B2C platforms. Now, first of all, we connect to a lot of accounting systems. I think in 99% of the case, we can connect to your accounting system. That also means if you already have an MIS or ERP system that connects to the account system, why do not benefit from this connection? On your web platform, the customers will also need an invoice. They also will need an invoice when the product has been shipped. An invoice has to be produced as well. Now, the intention of the automation is that once the job has reached a specific job status, that this invoice will be created automatically and shared with the customer also automatically, but also will be created in MultiPress, also connected with the same accounting system. So that means I'm just going to simulate this now manually in the Pressero backend. The only thing I'll need to do is say, for example, okay, the order has been finalized, and that information, that status can also come from MultiPress. It has been finalized. So that means in MultiPress, so if we just go back into MultiPress and we go into the invoicing part of MultiPress, I can see here that the invoice of 250 stickers and the shipping already has been created. That also means that if I go back to my customer platform and I go into my order history, that this invoice is available. Sorry. Wrong button, that this invoice is also available for the customer on the online platform. Voila.
The important point here, of course, also is that you don't need to have two separate accounting groups or lists, whatever you want to do, and you can integrate this completely into the accounting that you do for orders that come in from other platforms. Is a great benefit.
I think we've done the whole cycle, David.
I think so. I think what we've shown, and I think we have actually shown all of these points, is that if you set up this connection between MultiPress and Pressero, that it is possible to synchronize the product information that you have in MultiPress with Pressero, and that includes things like the calculated price and the weight, but also all of the options that are defined in MultiPress. That you can have completed orders that come into Pressero flow directly to MultiPress, and that there they will be taken up and processed the same way as offline orders would be processed. That you can also connect to the accounting system and have the invoicing done and all of that. And that even these invoices that are created, just as the status of the products as they live in MultiPress, that can be communicated back to Pressero. So someone who goes into the backend of Pressero will see the up-to-date status, but can also download invoices and anything else for these orders. And a customer, either by having access to Pressero or through the emails that are sent out by Pressero, can be kept up to date as well. That means that, in effect, you can make one version of the truth. You can have all the information in MultiPress, update the information there as is necessary, and you can be sure that your webshop and the prices that are calculated in the webshop will always be in sync with what you have in MultiPress. It also makes it very easy to set up a completely integrated solution. Pressero by itself is quite quick to set up, but what we see in projects is that very often it is processing the order, knowing what to do with the order, the definition of the product in Pressero. That is what takes time. And if you make the link to MultiPress and the information can come from MultiPress, then that becomes a lot easier. It also means that you can build both on the integrations that you, or the connections that you have in Pressero and on the ones in MultiPress. And the example we gave was for shipping engines, where I could have the shipping done in Pressero itself, but just as easily, I can have the orders flow into MultiPress and then use one of the connected shipping platforms in MultiPress. And it also means, and I think this is a really important point, it also comes very close to the core of what Four Pees wants to do. It also means that both on the MIS side and on the webshop side, you can start small, implement only what you need, and then grow as you want, as is necessary. Pressero allows you to start with a very basic web shop and then add things to it. For example, it allows you to work with outside vendors. It allows you to appoint brokers and stuff like that. But you don't have to do that. You can start with something relatively simple and then have that grow as needed. And as Davy said, MultiPress itself is modular, which means you can also start with the things that you need and then grow as your business grows with it. Anything to add, Davy?
You summed it up perfectly, David. Thank you.
That's probably because we worked on this slide together.
Don't ruin the magic, David. Don't ruin the magic.
Any questions, anyone? As I said in the beginning, feel free to unmute yourself and ask, or ask in the chat window.
There are a couple of questions, David.
Yeah, I think the one about shipping methods I already answered.
Yeah, indeed.
There is a question about customers in Canada, actually for you.
Is it for MultiPress or is it for Pressero?
For you.
We have one customer in Canada. It's called Jonards. It's an offset printing company. They're already using the system for quite a while. They're doing calculations. They're already creating jobs. They want to go further with the implementation as well. We just started training sessions on planning and time registration as well in that company. But due to COVID, that has caused a little bit of a delay, but we're hoping to try to pick that project again quite soon. But he's already doing a lot of calculations in the offset industry and creating jobs in MultiPress. But he doesn't have the connection with Pressero.
Yeah, so Tony, why not contact the Davy or someone else from Dataline, and they will be happy to talk in more detail about that. Davy, that brings up an interesting point, which I think we need to cover. You said that this connection is in beta stage at the moment. If we have people who are interested in this, when is it realistic for them to start looking at that?
I think we have the best person in the house here as well to answer that question. Jose? Is he still with us?
Yes, I am.
Hi, Jose.
Sorry, can you repeat, please?
I think the question is, if we have customers who are interested in starting to look at this and potentially use this connection, when is a realistic time frame for it to be available?
Now it's working, okay, but we are testing. We are testing with beta tester, and I suppose for the 1st of June, we will be ready for all the customers.
Okay, so they should just contact us, and then we will check in with you as how things go, and then what you say is beginning of June for
exactly
really start working with it and testing with it. Perfect.
And if I may jump in, the 1st of June would be just in time for you to be able to have your Pressero storefronts up and running.
Oh, hi, Trent.
Sorry, I just wanted to throw that those two pieces in there.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
What is the, if you can also do calculation models in Pressero, correct?
Say that again.
You can do also pricing calculation configuration in the backend of Pressero, correct?
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. So my question is, as a sales guy, when I sit with a customer, what is the gain of time when you have a MultiPress and you have a Pressero if you do the connection and the import from MultiPress. I'm interested, what is the advantage for the customer and the benefits of doing it that way?
I think that depends very much on a few things. So it's hard to give a general answer, I think. It's going to depend on the volume of products that we're talking about. It is also going to depend on how often these things will change. That is probably one of the more important ones. If you're relying on prices of material, for example, then I believe it is a real benefit to be able to synchronize that between the two systems.
Yeah. There's a lot of other things also connected to that. For example, first of all, if you define a price list in Pressero, what is this price list? Are those selling prices? Is this connected to a cost price? Where is this price coming from? Do they include also the real technical production methods of producing that product, yes or no? Also, for example, do they include updated of prices? When do you update the prices? How much do you update the prices? If you update the prices and there's, for example, a specific raise in a substrate cost, and that substrate is connected to 15 different products on your web shops, first of all, you need to identify those different products, and then you have to recalculate those selling prices if you want to include the price change of that substrate, for example. So there's a lot of things that you have to think about. It's not only setting up the prices, it's also maintaining those prices.
Is there a document where we have kind of a high level explanation? Because I think it's important for customers to understand what the advantages and benefits are to connect these two systems together.
No, sorry, I will respond, okay? The advantage is double, because you get the price from your MIS, okay, your MIS ERP, but when you receive the order, you send directly this order to your MIS ERP. Then you have double advantage. You don't need to create the calculation in Pressero, and you don't need to create the order in MultiPress when you receive an order in Pressero.
And actually, I think, Jose, what you're saying is absolutely correct. I think that the gains from getting the orders in automatically, not having to retype things, and so on, is at least going to be as big as the gain that you have from getting the prices automatically, if not bigger.
Exactly.
If you don't mind, I'll jump in here as well. I think the other piece that you would add would be consistency to your customer. You know, we see a lot of times the benefits of an integration like this is that those repeatable types of items, or those items that your customers order, they may go to your website and then call in, and you want to make sure that there's consistency of pricing back and forth to making sure you're not missing something in there. And I think that's also it. And then the convenience factor, you always want to be sitting in front of your customer, but the convenience factor of them being able to do that at any time, any place, from their computer, their phone, at any point in time that they remember they have to order something, I think just helps them be a little more sticky to you, so that you can be able to work on more complex items and let them be able to easily put in, again, with consistent pricing coming from MultiPress in both ways. So no matter if you did the quote yourself in MultiPress, or if they did it through the product on the site, at least, you know, as long as they're checking the right boxes and putting the right options in, you know, you're going to get consistent pricing across the board, and that's really key.
Yeah.
Exactly, and you have just one workflow.
Yeah, and I think that's it. Having two systems, as Andy remarks here as well, having two systems and having to maintain them in parallel yourself manually, that's a nightmare, and it is going to go wrong sooner or later.
Exactly.
Let me ask one other question here that came in meanwhile. So hypothetical case, if the customer orders 5 posters, go on the plotter, 250 go on an HP Indigo, 5,000 go in offsets. Where do you set that up?
Well, first of all, we do have the possibility in MultiPress to define 3 different product configurations connected to those 3 different technologies. You can set up, Jose, correct me if I'm wrong, or David, correct me if I'm wrong. You can set up in Pressero a maximum quantity, order quantity, or not?
Yes, you can.
Yes.
Voilà. So that means for that specific product, we can say you can order maximum 5 products. The other one starts at a certain amount. We do not have that crossover yet. We talked about it, and it is interesting that at a certain point, for example, that you calculate with those 3 configurators, and then suddenly you calculate the tipping point automatically, and then you display other prices based on that tipping point. But then you still have to take into account that all those 3 technologies can have the same finishing options, can have the same substrates and those kind of things. We do have the possibility to calculate 3 products connected to 3 different technologies at the same time, one after the other, and then evaluate which one is the cheapest price. Is not implemented in this initial version yet, but this was a discussion point, but we're going to look at this in the future.
So at the moment, you would probably set this up as 3 different products.
3 different ones, yeah.
You would give them a different minimum and or maximum quantities, and then they would all 3 be linked to different products defined
Indeed.
on the MultiPress side.
Yeah.
Okay, I hope that answered the question, Bert.
You're welcome.
It did. Any other questions? I don't think so, Davy. I think we have answered everything.
Perfect. Well, there could be always questions afterwards as well. Huh?
Yes. So as always, and I should mention that as well. As always, we have recorded this session. It will be in this particular case. It will be added to the 4Pees YouTube platform. Look for the playlist for all the 4Pees cafes. It will also be added by Dataline to the webinar platform.
Yeah, Jeff knows. I don't know if Jeff is still in the meeting, yes or no. But Jeff,
this will be shared on our on-demand webinar platform. So on the website, you go to webinars, and then you can check it out on the on-demand webinar platform.
Yeah. So normally we will edit the recording quite quickly, and you should be able to find the recordings on those platforms in the course of next week. I'm not saying beginning of next week, not to put more pressure on certain people, but quickly anyway. In the meantime, if you have questions, as always, feel free to reach out either to Davy or someone else from Dataline, or to me or someone else at 4Pees, and we will be more than happy to help. We missed our 1 hour mark by about 5 minutes. Which,
and what does that mean, David?
Not too bad. It means that there is no champagne, David.
Oh, Jesus.
I'm sorry, but
it's like a cafe without a beer.
It is. Yes, it's sad, but we will fix that at some point.
Yeah. Okay, perfect.
We can meet again and at one point we will organize a real cafe, and then people can come and join, and there will be Belgian beer.
Perfect. Then I can break my shoulder again.
Okay, I think I remember that accident.
That's an inside joke.
Yes. Thank you very much for the presentation. thanks to everyone for joining us again for a cafe. If you go to the 4Pees website, 4pees.com/events, you'll see the list of all upcoming cafes as well. Feel free to register for any of the other ones that might interest you. And I'm sure I will see many of you again in one of those upcoming cafes. Thanks, everyone.